We're here in Monte Carlo for the Rendez-Vous de Septembre. For AM Best TV, I'm Richard Banks. And I'm joined now by Carsten Prussog, who's CEO for Northern Europe for Munich Re. Carsten, good to see you again. Welcome.
Hello, Richard. It's good to see you. Thanks for having me again here in Monte Carlo.
It's a pleasure. We always enjoy our conversations. Now listen, hard markets are traditionally shorter than soft markets. So what are the prospects for the reinsurance market looking into the future?
Well, if I look at on the upcoming renewal, I normally try to step back and look at the demand and supply dynamics, right? The demand still is high, also given economic and geopolitical uncertainty, and the exposures are growing. A good indicator for this is that the globally insured cat losses grew by roughly 12% per annum over the last years. On the same token, the supply side is also very stable. There's a lot of capital being prepared to fit this demand. Interesting enough, there is hardly any fresh capital coming into the industry, but it's more retained earnings from the industry. I perceive this as positive because after many years where traditional player didn't reinvest because cost of capital was too low, there is a preparedness to reinvest in the industry. More specifically, I think there will be segments which will continue to need strengthening. US casualty, some specialty lines, but there are other lines which will certainly be very competitive. And we as Munich Re continue to be prepared to put out significant capacity to help to be a reliable and long-term partner for our clients.
So inevitably here in Monte Carlo, we talk about predominantly US-focused exposures and the impact that that has on the global reinsurance industry. Can you tell us a little bit about the markets that you operate in Northern Europe?
Yeah. What we have seen over the last couple of years is that the frequency of what we call non-peak perils or not peak events has increased significantly. You may recall many floods, hailstorms, Italy last year, partly wildfires, more on the North American side, but also sometimes in Europe. So, and that makes it very specific because you have regions where you had quite some claims activities. As I mentioned, Italy, a couple of years, Germany, a couple of years back, but also some regions like the UK or the Dutch market where we didn't see so much, and accordingly the price level adapts to these activities.
So we're in a position where there had been an understanding that certain systemic risks require a government involvement. I'm thinking of terror, perhaps natural catastrophes, but politically that's becoming less sustainable. How prepared do you think the reinsurance industry is to take back responsibility? That's
a very interesting, though not easily answered question because of the different nature of the peril, right? You mentioned NatCat, you mentioned terror, you could put cyber or pandemics in there. On the natural catastrophe side, I would say that actually the industry is taking a good amount of responsibility. Actually, it's our industry who emphasized over the past couple of decades the insurance gap, meaning that more than 40% of the global economic losses from natural catastrophes are uninsured. This gap always widens if there's a discrepancy between the technically required price from the industry versus what the ability or the willingness to pay from the insured. A good example are risks in flood-prone areas. And in those situations, public-private partnerships can be of huge support or come up with a sustainable solution, as you would find with Flood Re in the UK. Other risks like cyber or pandemics, the protection gap is even higher. Only a fraction is covered by the insurance industry, insurance and reinsurance industry. But we as Munich are committed to provide solutions. And as you know, we are the market leader in cyber and want to continue to play our part here.
So cyber is one of those topics that is a hot topic in Monte Carlo. It seems to be everybody wants to talk about it. The other one, of course, is AI. Tell us a little bit about the opportunities that AI presents, but also perhaps the challenges.
Well, I look at AI from two angles. From the how can AI operationally support you in processes, but also in underwriting, in even reading through wordings and being a support in this kind of processes. But also from the insurance side, whether there is a risk of failure of algorithms and how can those be insured. So we are finding use cases on the reinsurance side. I think there's even more use cases on the primary insurance side, where it's more about operational efficiency and effectiveness. And we are also looking in how can we potentially ensure those algorithms, which we are seeing being applied from mostly startup companies to deliver value to clients.
That's interesting. The actual insurance of AI itself, rather than just using AI in
Exactly,
insurance.
yeah.
Oh,
So both
interesting.
dimensions, yeah.
Yes, oh, interesting, brilliant. So finally, Carsten, if I may, what issues are being missed now that will be most important in the future?
Well, the one thing I always have on my mind is that I still think that we are not marketing the insurance and reinsurance industry sufficiently. I think it's a hugely purposeful industry, no matter whether we are insuring the house of a single person or as a reinsurer, a natural catastrophe for a whole country. And I'm extremely proud of what we as an insurance industry do. If there's a huge natural catastrophe and Munich Re pays out, let's say, $1 billion or even more, that is purposeful and can help to rebuild. And I think that is something where we should be probably a little bit more outspoken and bullish about the purpose of our industry.
That's a brilliant question, a brilliant answer. Carsten, thank you very much indeed for your time today.
It's lovely to see you, Richard.
All the very best. Thank you. For AM Best TV, I'm Richard Banks.